after 5 minutes, he always gives us the same speech. As we were celebrating what we did yesterday, somebody today has a complaint about a product and service. So he never lets us lose sight of who we are, and he never lets us lose sight on how do we get better and better and better and better and better and better, all right? One other thing I want to tell you about Ritz-Carlton, so you have some perspective, is that we have about 140 properties around the world, 99 are hotel. This week we're just opening a new one in India, very beautiful product. Next year we're going to be in the water, it'll be yachts. So it's not a cruise ship, it's not a boat, it's a yacht. Very, very, very exclusive, incredible product. It's going to have access to ports that cruise ships don't have access to. And we have about 42,000, ladies and gentlemen, and that number is going to change at the end of the year. But in the hospitality industry, I'm not sure about your industry, you probably know the numbers in your industry, but in the hospitality industry, turnover ranges from 65 to 85%. In fact, last year the turnover was 71%. Now let me ask you this.
Sounds like the car industry.
Sounds like the car industry? The 71%? Well then you would know this then. Can you create excellence with a 71% turnover? Why not?
Very difficult.
Why is it difficult?
Employees make the customer service, lack of consistency in training.
That's all there is to it. I can come in and I want to purchase a car and then I'm looking around and then there's no consistency. It's all emotional. Service, quite frankly, it's all emotional. Within 3 seconds, if any of you is good in psychology, but if you're not, let me give you some secrets. It's all emotional. Within 3 seconds, in my mind, in my brain, something is telling me I like you, I don't like you. 3 seconds, that's all it takes. First point of contact. And I don't care if you are the one that makes the most money in that dealership or the one in parts and services, it doesn't matter. It's first point of contact. Right? Or if it's the person answering the phone. So it's really all emotional. So we knew this, or Schulze knew this at the beginning of our company. Even though we go all the way back to the 1800s, our company was refounded again in the 80s. And he said, I cannot, this is not the way I want to run the business. And we have 50% turnover, which was pretty good for our hospitality industry. And after 1992, we've kept it at 20%. Okay? So our ladies and gentlemen do want to stay because of the work environment that we create. All right, so just keep that in mind as we go through the session today. All right, some housekeeping notes about the session. I already told you that I'm very flexible. You know, I like to ask questions, so that will be the opportunity for you to speak up, right? And open your mouth and speak up. I will give you exercises. I will give you a break halfway because, you know, at the beginning our information is very rich, but I do have to talk about our culture, all right? Because if you don't understand the way we operate, if we operate based on our culture, then you won't understand everything else that we do, all right? And our culture is this card that I have right here. You have a handout in front of you. If one of you is missing a handout, I have extras over here. And you have the Ritz-Carlton culture in there, okay? Now, if any of you do not have, by the way, culture is a set of behaviors and principles that you live by, all right? If any of you does not have a written culture in place, I do not recommend that you put your business name on top of our lion and the crown in our name and then hand that out to the employees. You're laughing, but we actually had the CEO of a bank, and I'm not going to say which bank it was, that put his name on it. I kid you not, and give it to the employees. He gave us a call 3 months later and said, this crap doesn't work. And we said, we could have saved you all that copying that you did. Of course it's not going to work. Half of this, our ladies and gentlemen created it, all right? So it works for us, all right? This is just an opportunity for you to think about your own culture. But culture, ladies and gentlemen, in your position, every time you open your mouth, you are creating culture. Good, bad, or indifferent, all right? We just have our culture clearly defined. We have defined our service excellence in this card, all right? So I'm gonna talk about two things. I'm gonna talk about service and I'm gonna talk about culture because we are very, very, very culture driven. We are not a cult. We did not drink a Kool-Aid, okay? We just have a set of values and principles that we believe in them, okay? We believe in them. There's a personal reward in achieving this. So if you're sitting right there, wherever you are, and as you hear me talk about service or culture, and if you're thinking, you know what, I do that every single day in every single interaction with all of my ladies and gentlemen, with all of my employees, with the customers, with everyone that comes in to my facilities every single day. Congratulations. That means that you are a world-class leader. And if you are operating that way, continue to do it. Because we need more of you in the United States, all right? We need more of you operating that way, okay? But if you're not, then let today be a great reinforcement for you, all right? That, you know, why is the reason why we need to have some sort of things in writing in place to drive service excellence. As you hear me talk about service or culture, you're probably gonna hear things that you've probably heard before in your life, in your career, all right? And if you've heard them, but you have not yet implemented them, then let this be a great reminder. Because I know that you are, and when you and I talked about, Greg, I know that you are in markets that you are not in competition with each other, but you do have some sort of competition in your markets. Is it true or not?
Oh, yeah.
How much competition do you have? Who wants to tell me how much competition do you have in your markets?
It's massive.
Give me a number. What's massive? Give me an average.
Steve, how many
I think we
competitors?
got 14 or 1,500 dealers in the state, if I'm not mistaken. They'll just run as a franchise.
How many? 1,400? Wow.
We have
So-
900 in El Paso.
There are
900
70,000 dealers in the United States.
So 70,000 in the US, and how many do you have in El Paso?
900.
900. So if I live in El Paso, I have 900 options.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds to me like it's a sea of sameness. It's like going to buy a white dog and then you have 100 of them, right? They all quack the same, they all look the same, right? Which one do I buy, right? Ultimately, it's not the product that I'm buying, ultimately is what? The experience. And by the way, we are in the experience economy. I don't know if you knew that. 75% of today's consumers, they want an experience, that's it. That's it. Because the product is the same pretty much, right? So it's really the experience that I'm going after. So it is a sea of sameness. So here's where I want you to, if you can, you know, take some notes, right, about the things that I'm saying, because unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to give you the PowerPoint for copyright reasons. So if you could make some notes, that would be great to take back with you. And not that we have a chip on our shoulders. I mean, this information you can find for free online. It's just that we had another company that I'm not gonna say their names, started selling the presentation on eBay. So we have a really nice big legal department that said no more. But if you can, take some notes about some of the things that we do. But most importantly is, how do you stay relevant, all right? For two reasons. Number one, the consumer has evolved. If we think the same way as we did 10 years ago, we're missing out, right? We're becoming irrelevant, right? The consumer has evolved. And I'm not saying that the young, smart kids out there, that now you can pretty much buy a car from a vending machine, and I'm not gonna say any names because I'm not sponsoring any companies. The reality is that that's gonna continue to happen, right? So how do we stay relevant with what people want? And you know, they have that fast access to knowledge, to wisdom, to convenience, right? You know, a heart will never replace what another heart can do, right? So technology will never be able to replace that unless that heart is not in the right place and you are forcing me to go another route, all right? So think about that. The other thing that I want you to think about as you're staying relevant is the workforce has evolved, right? We have multiple generations in the workforce, and it's not about the millennials, because a lot of people say, oh, what do we do with the millennials? My gosh. How many of you are parents in the room? Well, there you go. You gave them the computers and the cell phones. So, right? We tend to blame, you know, the millennials, but it's not about them, because there's a lot of baby boomers that do not want to change their ways. They're set in their ways, that's the way we've always done it, and that's the way we're gonna continue to do it. You can't live like that anymore, right? You gotta evolve, right? We gotta try out new things, all right? So think about that, okay? I'm gonna talk about 4 things today, all right? Number 1, I'm gonna talk about our gold standards, right? As you know, our culture. So be cautious, because it's a lot of information here, all right? It's a lot, so it's almost like drinking water out of our fire hose, all right? But this is the most important goal in Ritz-Carlton. In fact, in our strategic plan, and I'm gonna talk about our strategic plan, this is the number 1 goal. Our second goal is our ladies and gentlemen, our third is our guests, okay? So this is the most important thing in Ritz-Carlton. This is part of our uniforms, this is non-negotiable. We don't start the day without this, we don't end the day without this, we don't do anything without this. From our president to a dishwasher in Singapore. This is it, ladies and gentlemen, non-negotiable. Doesn't matter how the economy is doing, doesn't matter if we go to war, doesn't matter what's happening in the world. This is not negotiable, okay? Part of our uniforms, mandatory. So I'm gonna bombard you with a lot of information here, but I'll let you digest it in an exercise. This, how many of you have a set of behaviors and principles in writing in your businesses? A culture. A couple of you. Okay, excellent. This is nothing more and nothing less than some beautiful words in writing. That's it. It means absolutely nothing unless we know how to execute them, all right? And we call that the systems behind the smiles. So there's an art to service, and there's a science to service, all right? The art comes from, I grew up in a family where they taught me the roots of service, etiquette and manners. That's it. Those are the things that make an impact on people, but they don't cost anything. But the majority of humans nowadays do not have etiquette and manners, all right? Sounds simple, sounds basic, sounds elementary, but let me tell you, this is something that we are lacking big time, especially in the US, etiquette and manners. They don't cost anything, but something so basic could be a differentiator for you. So I grew up in a family where, you have to be, kind and respectful, right? So you practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and naturally I gravitated to the hospitality industry because I like people, right? So I practice the art, it becomes natural. However, there are some people that perhaps never had that, never grew up in that environment. It's not that they're bad people, it's just that they don't know the science behind that. Because we have a large population in Ritz-Carlton that barely finished high school. It doesn't matter, they're still very talented. So we have to teach them the science of service. If you tell 500 people, go out there and create service excellence, you're going to have 500 different versions of it.